There's a 942-page document that explains exactly how to end American democracy, legally.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a blueprint. And they're already implementing it.
The American Renewal Project. Here's what you need to know.
The American Renewal Project isn't some fringe manifesto written in someone's basement. This is mainstream conservative policy, written by former government officials, former federal judges, people who understand exactly how our system works.
And more importantly, how to change it. 942 pages of specific step-by-step instructions. The formatting contains official seals, legal citations, policy frameworks. This reads like federal legislation because it's designed to become federal legislation. There's a whole chapter on judicial appointments. There's another on education policy, and there are detailed timelines for implementation. This isn't theory. This is a manual. And they're not waiting for federal power to start. Look, Florida's new education policies, page 294. Curriculum review boards shall evaluate materials for ideological balance, ensuring classroom instruction supports rather than subverts foundational principles. Or Chapter 9 about voting rights. Enhanced signature verification protocols shall be implemented statewide, with automated rejection thresholds calibrated to ensure electoral consistency. Districts showing statistical anomalies in historical voting patterns require additional verification standards. What does that mean? People in opposition districts, like 7 and 9, will be denied the right to vote by increasing their verification requirements. And the judicial branch, Chapter 6 has this to say. Judicial personnel realignment ensures constitutional adherence through loyalty assessment protocols that evaluate commitment to founding principles over ideological judicial philosophy. Translation: anyone who disagrees with us will be fired.
This document exists because someone, Risset, a lot of someones with real power, believe democracy is broken and needs to be renewed. The question is, renewed into what? And here's the thing that should scare you. Do the American people get a say in that decision? Because based on what I've read, the answer is no. So who wrote this thing? The Liberty Research Council, a think tank with some very powerful backers. This isn't some random group of activists. These are real people with real influence, real funding, and real connections to policymakers.
It's all here. They're beta testing the playbook in red states right now. This isn't some future plan. Pieces of it are already law. They've been around for years, slowly building this framework, testing pieces of it, refining the strategy. And look who's in their orbit. Blake Morrison's inner circle. Legal architect Cambria Hart. She's the one writing the legislation to make this stuff happen. Media allies like Brandt Keller, who's been normalizing these ideas for months. This isn't fringe politics. These are people with actual power, actual platforms, actual ability to implement policy. Surveillance systems, data analytics, voter verification technology, all the tools you'd need to actually implement this kind of control. This isn't just theory. They have the means. Now, there's an investigative journalist named Alex Parker who's been tracking the connections behind all this. His blog is called The Pattern Report, and his research shows just how deep this network goes. His analysis connects dots that most people miss. When you combine his data with these Renewal Project documents, the picture becomes crystal clear. And Ray Miles of WFTB-FM just had a very revealing interview with Cambria Hart. Between Parker's report, Cambria Hart's own words, and the Renewal Project's documentation, we're not talking about conspiracy theories anymore. We're talking about a coordinated plan by people with real power, real money, and real ability to change how our government works.
They're talking about using existing laws and institutions to reshape democracy from the inside. It's brilliant and it's terrifying.
First, voting restrictions, but not just basic ID laws. Systematic exclusion through Cambria Hart's voter integrity protocols, complex verification requirements that disproportionately affect certain communities, voter roll purges based on database mismatches, polling location changes with minimal notice, ballot verification processes so complex that honest mistakes become grounds for disqualification. Second, judicial capture. Pack the courts with ideological judges who will rubber stamp whatever comes next. Redefine constitutional interpretation to favor executive power over individual rights. Voting restrictions, constitutional. Surveillance expansion, constitutional. Media limitations, constitutional. The courts become the legitimacy machine for everything else. Third, media control. Not outright censorship, that's too obvious. Economic strangulation. Make independent journalism financially impossible while amplifying friendly voices. Look at Brant Keller's network. They don't need to silence everyone. Just make sure that the loudest voices are theirs. Drown out dissent with volume, not violence. Meanwhile, independent outlets lose advertising, face regulatory challenges, and get buried in legal costs. Death by 1,000 cuts. Fourth, education. Control what kids learn. Surveil teachers. Ban books that complicate the narrative. Make sure the next generation grows up thinking this is normal. And finally, corporate enforcement. Companies like RakeTech don't just provide technology, they become the surveillance and enforcement arm. Private companies doing what the government can't legally do directly. Facial recognition, movement tracking, social credit systems, all provided by private contractors. Plausible deniability with total control. Maybe you're thinking, this is political stuff, doesn't affect me. Maybe you don't vote much, don't follow the news, just want to live your life and take care of your family. This isn't some dystopian future. This is the logical endpoint of policies being implemented right now. And the people saying it can't happen here, they're not paying attention. It's not happening with jackboots and tanks. It's happening with forms and procedures and legal frameworks. I get it. But here's the thing. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about whether you get to keep living that life. Your kids' school curriculum, what they learn about history, science, civics, your job security if you say the wrong thing at work or share the wrong post online, your healthcare access if you're flagged as non-compliant, your ability to travel, to bank, to participate in normal society if your social credit score drops too low. Look at what's already happening in our own community. Teacher firings for inappropriate materials, voting registration challenges, business permits denied for compliance issues. So what do? First, stay informed. I'll put links in the description to Alex's report, a link to the executive summary of the Renewal Project, and Ray Miles' interview of Cambria Hart. Read them, listen to them, understand what we're dealing with. Knowledge is the first line of defense. Second, local elections matter most. School boards, city councils, state legislatures. That's where this gets implemented. That's where they're testing the playbook right now. Vote in every election. Federal politics gets the headlines, but your school board controls your kids' curriculum. Your city council controls local police policy. Pay attention. Third, talk to people. Have conversations with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Share this video. Most people aren't seeing this information. They're busy. They're distracted. They're trusting that someone else is paying attention. Be the someone else. This isn't about left versus right. This is about democracy versus authoritarianism, and we still have time to choose. They wrote the playbook. Now we know what it says. What we do next is up to us.